Hello and welcome back to the Escape Room series here in FrameVR. This is episode 4, and in previous episodes we set up how to create links from one room to the other. We imported this photo and turned on the magnifying feature as well as the zoom in feature. We imported a 3D model and some audio, which I have turned off because I had to refilm the whole thing because the annoying tick-tock of the clock was in the background. Today we are going to get into some advanced features around how to make the action editor come to life so that things become interactive. So let's turn over here to the other side of the room. Okay, so you can see here that I've added two features already. One is a simple text box that says clue, and then another one that is turn around. And what I want to happen is when people click on the clue button, I want turn around to pop up. Now, in order for that to happen, turnaround needs to be hidden first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it where it is, and I'm going to click on the clue, and we're going to venture into the action editor for the first time. The action editor is extremely powerful, and it is built around the idea of triggers and actions. And there are only two triggers currently within Frame. One is when the user clicks or taps on something, or when they are close to something. For this particular clue, we want them to be able to click on the word clue, and we want something else to happen. That is the action. So when I click on action, you see that I have a number of choices: set property, play animation, and so on. Right now we want to set the property and click add. First choice at the top is local only. We want to turn that on so that these actions are independent of each other users. So if I go in and participate in this activity, the next person that comes in, it's a blank slate and everything is reset. Next one is which asset do we want to have the click tap happen on, and we want it to happen on itself, which is clue. No, I'm sorry, that's not true. We want to change the properties of the text box that says turnaround. So if I scroll all the way down here, what do we want to change on turnaround? We want to change the position. And if I click on this blue button right now, it will say that these are the current values, and that's what we want to happen. So when the user clicks on clue, we want to change the property of turnaround to where it is right now. If I close that out, now go and put turnaround down below, and if I turn off edit mode, then when I hold the mouse over clue and click on it, then turnaround becomes available. Now, for right now, we're going to keep that way, and for each time I'm going to have to put turnaround back under the ground. We're going to talk about some ways to reset that in a moment. The other thing that I would like to happen is, in order for them to see this clue, they're going to be turned with their back to the other wall, and when they click on clue and they get the prompt that says turn around, they are going to see that another asset became visible behind them. And the asset that I want to make visible is a door. So if I go to 3D model and I go to AI, I'm going to search for the AI here, and I believe I saw a door that somebody else had created. Here it is. So drag the door out onto here like that. Double click on the door, and we want this door to be behind them. I keep doing that. I actually have two of them, so I'm going to hit the delete and confirm that I want it deleted. Go back to this one. If I want to change the size, I click on the handles here until I see it interacting with the floor. That's good. This is actually a cube door for some reason, but it will serve our purposes. Okay, so I want what I want to happen is when they click on clue, I want the door to become visible. So therefore, I also want to keep the door here, click on clue again, and go back to action editor. You can have several interactions based off the same item here within Frame. So I'm going to click add trigger again, click tap. What happens is we want to set the property again, click add. We want it to be local, and we want it to set the property of the door, and it looks like there are two of them. So I'm going to close out of this, click on this, and change it to hidden door so that I know which one we are. Oops. Put that there again, put it against the wall. Okay, so hidden door is set. Go back to clue, go back to action editor, go to asset, and now we should see hidden door. Very good. Change the property. We want to change the position, and we want it to be the current position that it is right now. Go ahead and click close, and once again I need to hide that. put that down under the ground, turn off edit mode, and I'm gonna do this from here so that you can actually see what happens. When I click on clue, turnaround comes up, and now we have a door behind it. Perfect. Now, we want to apply the next prompt to the door, and that would be to go from the room that we're in right now to the second room. Don't know why this keeps moving on me, so I'm going to click there and then hit lock position. Now, this time I want the action to be attached to the door. So with the door selected, hit action editor. And because this room is super small, we're going to have to keep it on click tap, and I'll show you proximity in the next room. What is the action? I want to, instead of set the property, I want the user to go to someplace. And we want to go to a spot within the frame, and that would be room 2. So when somebody clicks on the door, they are going to go to the spot in room 2. Click off edit mode, click there, and boom, I'm in room 2. So there are actually 2 triggers, as I mentioned. First one is, why does it keep happening? Lock position. The first trigger that we've talked about was for click or tap, and then this one is set up for proximity. And you'll notice that when you choose proximity, you have a couple of choices. Do you want the user to be close, short, medium, or long? And that will dictate how reactive this particular trigger is based on the location of the user. We're going to keep this at close because my goal here is for them to have the feeling that they are walking through the door. So we've set up the proximity, and now we need to set up a proximity trigger, and now we need to set up the action. And that action is to go to the spot link, entry. So if I move back here, I'm in this room, I'm going to turn off edit mode. I could click here to go back to that room, but now with the proximity trigger, I can actually walk close to the door and I walk right into that first room. Okay, so let's reset this one more time so that you get a sense of what the user would. Gotta turn off lock position so that I can hide this, and now turn off the edit mode. Okay, so we're in this escape room. We look for a clue. We realize that there's a clue over here. We come over here. We turn to that. We click on clue. It says turn around. While we were turned around, the door becomes available. Click on the door, brings us to room 2. And if I want to go back to room 1, I walk through there. We still have this this click tap action on here as well, but that just shows you an introduction to how you can utilize the action editor to make your escape room or any FrameVR experience a little bit more interactive. So what do we want to do here when we don't want this turnaround to stay where it is? So the best way to do that would be to go to this other room and add a trigger to the door so that when the user goes through that door, it actually triggers those other items to go back to their original state. So I'm going to add a trigger, and that is going to be proximity, and we can keep it at close. And what's the action? We want to set the property local only to the door, and this would be hidden door in the other room. We want to set the position, take where it is right now, and just take the y-axis and make that a -1. And then the same thing with add a trigger, proximity. What action? We want to set the property of the sign that says turn around. What property? We want to change the position, get its current position, and make that negative. The y-axis would be the ground. Click close. If I click here and go back, if I click here and go back to the other room, then we see that turn around and the door are visible. If I go back to that other room and walk through this door, I hope that they are going to be hidden again. There we go. Turnaround did not work for some reason, but the door did. Let's go back to room 2 and check our settings. Action editor on the door. I guess I didn't set the range. Set the property of turnaround, position negative. Click close, and now let's see if changing the proximity solved that problem. Go back through the door, and there you go. So now you have basically reset your game so that no matter how many times they go through it, when they come back into this room, those things will be gone. So that concludes episode 4 of this series. By the way, I am really bad at YouTube, I've noticed. And if you haven't already seen it, I never ask you to subscribe. If you're still watching this 10 or 12 minutes or however long this video is, then clearly it was of interest and use for you, and I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. Also, comment down at the bottom. What are you here for? What are you looking to learn? What are you building? How can I help you? Any type of engagement there would be certainly helpful, because right now I'm just sitting here in my office in France, dreaming up these ideas, making these videos, and posting them online. And up until now, I see some people watch them, and but I don't know what it is that you would like to learn, what I should be working on next, etc. So I would appreciate that, and thanks for watching. And in episode 5 coming up next, we're going to add yet more layers of interactivity and start thinking about themes, a little bit more about adding sound for spatial audio and items like that. So stay tuned for that.